Okay, so for this one, first thing you want to do is get the absolute value all by itself. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and that's this first step I've written in red. So after you add 3, then you have 13 on the other side of the equal sign. Next step would be to divide by 5 on both sides, since we want the absolute value to be all by itself. So that's the next step I've written in red, is to divide by 5 on both sides. So after you do all that, the absolute value is all alone. We have the absolute value of 2x minus 2 equals 13 fifths. That's when, once your absolute value is all alone, and you check to make sure the other side of the equal sign is positive, then that's when you split it into the two situations. So I've done that here, one on the left and one on the right. So the one on the left says 2x minus 2 equals 13 fifths, and the one on the right says 2x minus 2 equals negative 13 fifths. So we want to set up both those situations, one with the positive and one with the negative. Now what we would just want to do in each situation is get the x by itself. So in this first situation, I added 2 to both sides. That gave me the 2x all alone on the left side. 13 halves plus 2. In order to add fractions, you have to get common denominators. So 2 is the same thing as 10 fifths. That way I had a common denominator of 5. So we add the tops, 13 and 10, and we get 23 fifths. So 2x equals 23 fifths. Last step to get the x by itself is to either divide by 2, or I wrote it like this, times by 1/2, because that's the same thing. So if you times by 1/2 on both sides, then we times the tops 23 and 1 to get 23, and 5 and 2 to get 10. So that's one of the answers, is 23 tenths. The other side here is the other situation where we did 2x minus 2 equals negative 13 fifths. So if I add 2 to both sides, again making common denominators, so 2 is the same thing as 10 fifths. We have negative 13 fifths plus 10 fifths. A negative 13 plus a 10 when we add the numerators is going to give us a negative 3. And we keep the denominator, so that's negative 3 fifths. And again, the last step here, I times by 1/2 on both sides, which is the same thing as dividing by 2. But I just wrote it this way with the 1/2. So we have negative 3 when we times the tops, and 10 on the bottom when we times the bottoms. And those are our two answers.